This one.
Okay, folks. Good evening, and welcome to Radio FM 88 as we come live through the studios here in Brisbane with our co-host in the UK, none other than Andrena, Forrest. And tonight, for those people who've been watching on a regular basis, it's me who's on top of the totem pole. So, anyway, it's a good evening. It's actually a good morning to you. How are you, Andrena?
Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to wherever you are in the world. And if you're listening to a replay, today is the 28th of July, 2022. And we're coming fastly into the month of August. And today's the number 8 day for those that like their numbers like me. And 8 is all about financial abundance, overthinking, people that are highly intuitive. Anyway, today it's my pleasure to welcome Brian Walker from the UK. I've spoken to Brian over the years at the Healing Weekend, but I haven't really got to know him personally like I have since inviting him on the show. But at the moment, Brian is having a few technical problems and he's got an awful background noise. So you might have to bear with us at the minute because I think he's dropped out of the system.
He's got two computers going there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. So for Brian is a trance healer carrying out psychic surgery. So I'm not going to tell you too much because this is Brian's field, but I have had a session with Brian because obviously I'm all about being the best version of me so I can help others do the same. So I've learned a lot from different people on the show, like Clive DeCar about magnesium and vitamin C, Darren DOJ about taking the diatomaceous earth and the amino acids. And I have to say, since coming back from the UK, I have suffered so many aches and pains and since coming back from Australia, and I've been back 2.5 years now, I've suffered so many aches and pains and different things. But in the last stages since taking the stuff from Darren, that has made such a difference to me. So, and it's all about sharing knowledge and helping people with different things. So, I'll carry on talking while we're waiting on Brian. Let me think. Any news?
No. Hey, we're lucky we got some photos and footage, and we got some video of Brian. So let's have a look at that. Eh? So.
Yes. So, I mean, Brian's been doing the Healing Weekend for I'm not sure how many years, for a long time. I know I've seen him in the past, and I know when you go to the Healing Weekend, ideally on a Friday, you book for Friday, and then you come on Saturday and you book Saturday. But most times when you get there, it's fully booked. Because he does such amazing work, so he obviously spirit work through his eyes and use his hands and his body. And he's just queued up every time. So I know he's got a busy practice. He comes to Paul Spiritualist Church, I think, once a month, and helps people there. So this is a little video. I'm not quite sure how old this one is, but his guides take over straight away and use his eyes. And so I don't know from Brian's point of view how it works for him, whether he can see everything or whether he steps back. So obviously we'll have to wait for Brian for that. But I know there are quite a few psychic surgeons. And I had, what was that? Jeff Morrell, wasn't it? Jeff Morrell came over from, hi Helen. Jeff Morrell came over from the States. Oh God. Years and years and years ago. And I remember having a session with him, and they actually removed a lump out of my breast that I didn't know it was there. So obviously in hindsight, somebody like Brian can see what's in your body and can maybe halt it or give you more advice or actually remove what's going on. So, and he chats away as he's working. So, an amazing gift. But obviously, I can't tell you much more because this is Brian's field. So, we have so hello.
Hello.
Hooray! Welcome, Brian.
Finally cracked this technical stuff.
Oh, well, good on you, because I know it does oh God. Anyway, that's another story. We won't go there. I was just sharing that I've seen you at the Healing Weekend over a number of years, and I've got to know you more personally since inviting you on the show. So it's a great pleasure that you're on. So I was just sharing that I've had a session with you, and I would love you to share how you started to do this work, but especially when spirit are working through you. What I would like to know is, obviously they're using the whole of your body. Do you step back while they take over, or are you fully aware of what's going on? So that's what I would like to know.
Right. Well, I've actually been doing On the Pathway for 17 years.
Right.
I've been aware of spirit since quite a young age. They've been all through my life, really, but not in the way I've been working with me, just protecting me. Then at 55, I decided to draw out of society. I thought my life's got to have some meaning to it. So I took a year to find myself. And while I was finding myself, I had just coming away from society. I had out-of-body experiences. And I thought, I've got to go and chase this. And I went to the Temple of Spiritualism at Portsmouth to get answers, and ended up doing going into the development circle. And I was training to be a medium. But every time a medium done a reading, they would say to me, "Why aren't you healing? Why aren't you healing?" And to me, I didn't honestly believe in all this stuff because I'm an engineer by trade. So everything's got to have a purpose, and it's got to be able to fit and be logic. When you're talking to dead people and things like that, letting them through your body, to me, it's not logic. So I found it very hard. But anyway, after about 5 years of developing, I was at a Sunday service, and this medium who I knew and trusted very well came to me and says, "Brian, why aren't you healing? You should be doing trance healing and working with animals." And I thought, well, that's a bit much to ask anyone. He's probably just filling in, because I didn't even understand what trance healing was. So that evening I went to bed and I said to Spirit, if I am meant to do this, give me a sign. And I got up in the morning, no sign. And I thought, that is a medium, literally, just filling in. That evening I went to my development circle. A new girl joined who I'd never seen. She didn't know me. And when it came to the mediumship side of it, she came to me and says, "Brian, I've got a message here, but I don't know if you can take it." She says, "It says, why are you not healing?" And I said, "I can take that." I says, "I can understand what you'd given." So I applied to become a trainee healer. And when the papers came through, I went to the temple and I said, "Can I be accepted as a healer? I've got the paperwork." And the healing leader said, "Go and sit in the healing room for half an hour." So I went into the healing room, and it was all quiet and tranquil, and I wasn't aware of energies then either, to the degree I am now. But I was sitting there, there's a few people in doing healing, and there was no one speaking. It was so quiet. And there wasn't even music on. And I'm sat there and I thought, what am I supposed to be learning? Then after about a quarter of an hour, the healing leader came in and says, "Right, I'm going to sit in the bed and I want you to give me a 15-minute healing." And I says, "Yeah, okay." So she sat in the bed and she's got her back towards me. And after a minute, she went, "You're running out of time. I'm waiting and explaining what I've got to do." And I thought, oh, well, Spirit, if you want me to heal, you better start working. So just instinctively put my hands on her shoulders. And I felt the energy come through my hands.
Mm.
And after the 15 minutes, she got up and she says, "Thank you, wait there," and sent someone else in. And the same thing happened. And when they finished, they went out at a conflab, they called me out and says, "Put a coat on, you're a healer." And I thought, well, how does it work? Where's it coming from? But instead, I was put in the queue and I started working with people singly, not even doubled up. And I'm just doing this commitment, saying to Spirit, if you want me to do this, you better work through me. And after about 3 months, I started picking up where it was coming from. And lovely things were happening. People coming back saying, "Can I have that chap again? Can I have him?" And of course, I really committed to it, started researching everything I could. And then I found out where it comes from and how to ground, how to protect. But this was the thing that had been missing. And then everyone was talking about the different healing modalities. And at the time, they says, "Don't ever bother with that Reiki. It doesn't work." And I says, "How do you know it doesn't work? Have you tried it?" And they went, "No, we wouldn't touch it." So I went and done my Reiki 1 and 2 just to find out what the difference was. And it didn't change much. Then I studied theta healing, crystal healing, and quite a few different modalities. But as I was healing, the more I went into the healing, the more I was getting taken under with it. I was actually getting involved in it more. And that was the one thing that says, don't get involved in it. Well, to me, if I've got a patient here for 20 minutes or half an hour, how can I just connect and then sit there and twiddle my thumbs, no, for the next 20 minutes?
Mm.
So I became what I called the patient's lawyer, defense lawyer. I was there talking to Spirit all the time, why this person should be healed and all the rest of it. I was fighting the case like a defense lawyer. And magic things were happening. But the other thing was they started taking me down deeper. Then one day I get called in and said, "You're not allowed to do shamanic healing." Now I haven't been there. I didn't realize when I was getting down, they were shaman pulling stuff out of me, out of the patient. And somebody had witnessed it. And it was a good healing. So to me, I was just allowing Spirit to do what they wanted to do. And one thing led
It's spirit ringing, is it?
that was me trying to get that connection. One thing led to another, and I said, well, I didn't allow it deliberately. I just allowed Spirit to work. But the healing actually got more intense as I worked on. And then I was working one day with doing a healing on this medium who actually told me about working in trance. And when I finished, this is kind of a quiet word with you. And I said, "Yeah, what is it?" He said, I had a friend who was an amazing psychic surgeon. He says, and when you were healing me, he says, as I came around, he was stood at one side of you, but Harry Edwards was stood at your other side.
Oh.
He says, "You're starting to trance heal." And I went, "Don't be ridiculous." He said, "But don't say anything about it because you'll get into trouble." So I'm working away at the church, at the temple, and doing the healing 2-3 times a week. And each time I was allowing myself to go that little bit deeper without even realizing it was just a commitment. And I get called in the office and says, "That healing you done there was actually trance healing. You're not allowed to do that." And but it's not what I would call trance healing. To me, it's just I'm allowing Spirit to do what they need for that person, for the best. I ask for the highest. They said, well, you're not allowed to do that here. And I thought, how can you be healing but putting restrictions on it? So I got called in the office a couple of times for doing it. And they said to me, if we catch you at it again, we're going to take your healing status. And I thought, all these years of study, you're going to take it away for that?
Just bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah. So
typical pommies, isn't it? Okay.
Excuse me,
What?
be careful, Mr. Shaw.
It's like getting stolen a loaf of bread and you get shipped to Australia. Mate,
yeah, that's right.
You need to get shipped to Australia, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't have
So
to put up with
a couple of days later, I'm actually healing again, and I'm going down into. I could feel myself going down, and this voice says to me, "Look to the left." And I looked over to my left, and there was a pillar. And one of the committee was actually standing behind it to watch.
Oh gosh, that's terrible.
I said, acknowledge them. So I went, okay. And I went back to the healing. And when I finished the healing, I get called in the office again. And they says to me, mind what we've told you about trans healing? And I says, yeah. And this is, bear it in mind. I said, wasn't trans healing. No, we know that because you acknowledged us. And I thought, you don't even understand what trans healing is. So it came upon me that I can't live my life by being deceitful to it. And I thought, I'm going to have to come away from this before they take away the healing status. I loved what I was doing. And after a bit of consideration and mindful thought, I've got to leave. And it broke my heart. I resigned from the temple. And I came home and I was sitting quite emotional. No, I thought I'd thrown away a healing career. And Spirit says, we'll bring them to you. That was on the Thursday. On the Monday morning, I had 8 appointments to do private healing.
Really? Brilliant.
And every week, I'd look at my diary and there'd be 7 or 8, and I go, 10 would be perfect for the week. And within a couple of hours, I'd have the number up to 10. And I really worked at it. But the more I committed, the deeper I was getting taken. And I realized that healing is only unconditional love given from the heart with an intention connected to spirit. And I was very privileged. I was taken all around Britain. I was taken to Norway, teaching and training. And then 5 years ago, I set up my own centre in Havant, in just outside Portsmouth in England, and very successful in the way that it drew people in, but actually cut down the number of people I healed, because the people you're prepared to go to aren't necessarily prepared to come to you. So I ran it until the onset of the COVID pandemic, and I had to close it. 11 months with nobody coming through the doors is a case of bankruptcy, or no, you're never going to make it. It was going to close one way or the other, so I shut it, and I now work from home. And I teach a lot. I do a lot of teaching. But the one thing I have learned is when you're healing, and Spirit have confirmed this to me, healing only takes 2 minutes of your time. The Spirit work at that rate through you. They can do the majority of the healing in 2 minutes. Now, when I connect, I invite my full healing team. I get away from the, what do you call it, bring one guide in. Yeah. I bring a full team in. Now, it's like going to the doctors and you've got 3 ailments. It'll take 3 months to sort you because you'll deal with each one.
And that's if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you can get the appointment. But by bringing the team in, there's sometimes I've actually felt 5 and 6 guides working through me at a time. And amazing healings have been happening. So to me, I invite them in and I stand back, hand it over to them. I don't even ask the person now what's wrong with them. I prefer not to know. Because sure as eggs are eggs, we're human. And if somebody says, I've got a bad shoulder, while you're sitting there working, you're thinking, got to mind the shoulder, got to remember and do healing on the shoulder. The shoulder's only the physical. That's not the root problem. So if I step back, spirit goes in and goes to the root and deals with it then, actually does the healing and not an elastoplasting. They don't put a plaster on. And they're the ones that inspire me, because I'm not, although I'm in the room, I'm 110% aware of the room. I don't know what's going on in the body. And they move my hands, or they inspire me where to put my hands. I don't know why. I just do whatever comes.
Yeah.
And then people say, why did you grip my ankle? Because that's a problem, or my knee. And I'll go, well, it's just spirit working. And it is such a lovely experience. And then at the end of it, when they tell me what's wrong and what I've done, I'm as amazed as they are, because you weren't thinking of it doing it that way. But I don't see within the body. I can feel, because quite often I use what I call a whiteboard method, because one of the deals I made with spirit when they wanted me to work was, please don't show me any blood and guts and gore.
Quite.
Yeah, I just couldn't. That's how I never thought I'd ever be a healer, because I couldn't be around sick people. And to this day, they've kept their word. 17 years later, they've kept their word. But I get curious sometimes. I'll say, what is wrong with this person? Because I have felt there's more wrong than what they're letting on.
Yeah.
And I will say to spirit, please show me what's wrong with this person. Use me as a whiteboard. I feel the emotions. I feel every ache and pain to such a degree I can pinpoint it with a fingertip. And then when I've done that, I know then, right, I understand what's happening. Please take it all away, because I don't want to be reminded of it. And I just work that way. And the more I can do for people, the better. And this is it. I just love what I do. About 5-6 years ago, I was sitting meditating one night, and I was told, this is what you were born to do. I'd actually found my purpose in life, something that I'd never known in 60 plus years.
Yeah, amazing to we have sound effects. The lambs are about to be fed, I think so.
That's all right. Yeah.
No, it's amazing that you've at later stages of life you've come into fully to do what you've come to do, eh?
Yeah, is it ever? And I'm at the stage now where I trust to such a degree, and I don't question. If someone comes in front of me, I just do it as it's said. Because many years ago, Spirit says to me, if you're asked to do something, just do it. We will be behind you. And this all came from a workshop I was doing on energy healing. And I was up in Newcastle, and I'd done the course. I'd taught the course for the day. And the chairman of the church says to me, would you do an energy healing demonstration? And I said, no, I don't do them. Because quite a lot of healing demonstrations, trance healing demonstrations I went to see have become showmanship. It's got to be theatrical. And I don't believe in that. No, I don't see anything. So I couldn't see how, unless you create it, you're going to make it interesting. And I said, well, I don't do it. And I told him the reasons. He says, please, we saw some amazing things while you were working. And I says, I don't do it. I says, I can't see how you're going to see anything. He says, give us half an hour. So it's all right, for the class I'll do it. And I set the bed up, and I asked Spirit to work as a demonstration for me. And we've done, I think it was 6 or 7 healings, and 2-3 minutes each. And that half hour actually lasted 2.5 hours. But what an amazing experience is. There was one girl levitated.
Really?
Yeah, there's other people getting amazing healings. People saw my guides. Some saw the auras and the energy. And I thought, wow. So when I came home 2 days later, I'm meditating and the Spirit says, that is why you must demonstrate it. It's to educate people. Because quite often people would phone me up for a healing, and I'm registered as a Reiki healer, a spiritual healer and that. And they go, what healing are you going to do? And I say, what would you like? Well, not that trance. Why not? Well, you might leave somebody with us. And I thought, people just don't understand it. So a good friend, you know her, Andrena, is Jackie White.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie White was running a positive living group, and she says, how would you like to come and do a demonstration at my group? And I went, and they had a sellout that night. I don't know why. She'd advertised it well. And I'd done the demonstration, and in the interval, she went and took a list of people who would like healing. In a half-hour lunch session, she gave me 36 people that wanted a healing the next day.
Is that all?
That was all. So I had to book the hall for 2 days. And
Brilliant.
It was amazing. And it's went on from there. And I hate to count the number of demonstrations now, because to me, it's about educating people. And Spirit user, even when I'm working like that, I go within before I start. And I don't know if you've seen my demonstration at the healing weekend. I hadn't a clue what happened. Now, some of the videos there was the healing weekend where I do the demonstrations.
Well, you can work front or back.
And my goodness, I asked them, please guide me, show me, and teach. And I got on there, and I don't even know what I'm going to say from 1 second to the next. And then things happen. And it is beautiful. No, and I'm getting requests all the time now to go and teach it. But even these 2-minute healings, it's amazing things that happen because Spirit work to prove it. They vamp the energy up, everything, to prove it. And of course, when you come back into your own environment again, it's amazing how Spirit still keeps that energy when it's needed.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I am so privileged to be able to do this. And the growing circumstance at the moment is there's not enough hours in a day.
No, I bet. So do you do any healings, like, say, like I've just seen Steph in Spain said she'd love a healing. So do you do it? Do you link in from here and then your guides are over there?
Yeah. Well,
for those that don't understand how distant healing works.
Yeah. In the past 18 months, when the second lockdown came, I had to shut my centre because I didn't shut it down through half of the first one.
No.
And then I was getting legal threats.
Oh.
So I had to close it. Yeah. And I thought, how are you going to help these people? And sitting in trance one night, and Spirit says, we've come into a technical age. So please use the technology. And I'm thinking, how can you heal? Because to me, it's a hands-on. How can you heal over the airwaves? And they said, just trust. 2 days later, a lady phoned me up. She had damaged her shoulder and it had paralyzed her arm and her hand. And she says, can you do some healing for me? And I says, well, I'm not allowed to open the centre, but I'll tell you what, let's try an experiment. I says, put your phone on video and I'll be video this side and I can watch you. So she put the phone on and I said, now just relax, and I'm talking her through it. And I had done the healing and it was only 10 minutes. And when I finished and I talked her around, she went, that was amazing. I saw your energy, your aura expand and everything. She says, but on top of that, my shoulder was actually sore than when the accident happened. And I said, well, that's a good sign, because if you're getting pain now, something's moving.
Yeah, definitely.
5 minutes later, she could actually swivel the shoulder. And she said, oh, look at that. And I went, fantastic. I says, let's meet again next week and do the same thing. And the following week, her shoulder got better, the pain had disappeared. We're doing it again, and the elbow started working.
Yeah.
And I went, this does work. And of course, started doing other people. And I'm doing cancer patients, I'm doing people with spinal problems, and they're actually feeling the hands manipulating them.
Mm-hmm.
So now I must do, on average, about 10, 12 a week outside of Britain as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. When you think of it, we're all energy.
Exactly.
Universal energy.
Mm.
So no matter where you are, you can tune into that energy and you're part of it. So it doesn't even have to need a photograph or anything, just a thought, the name, whatever, and it works. Mm-hmm. And it just blows my mind still. No, it's so hard to describe to people that don't understand or haven't experienced it. And no, people come. I had one, I'll tell you about one case. This was about 2.5 years ago. There's a lady phoned me up. I'd just done Spirit Quest 3 years ago it was. And she phoned me up and she says, I seen you at Spirit Quest, came home and told my husband about you because he has got cancer. He's had it for 4 years. He's got to live with it. She says, but I was telling about it, and he said, I've got to see you. I said, well, that's all right. I says, where do you live? And she went, we're in Gloucester. I said, that's 3 hours away. Well, he wants to come for an appointment. And I says, look, I says, I'll get him someone local. I'll find someone local for him. She goes, no, he's adamant he wants to come and see you. He was 84 years old. So I says, okay. And she says, the only day we can come is Thursday. And I says, that's all right. I'm usually shut on a Thursday. If you're coming that distance, I will open the shop. They turned up, and he was 84. He was on 2 sticks, bent right over. He was in a 6-footer, but bent over. And he had a growth the size of a baked potato on his face, right on his jaw. And it broke his jawbone, and he was on liquid morphine for the pain, and could only eat liquid food. So I said, I can't promise you, and I never promise anyone a heal. And I said, but all I'll promise you is that I will do my best. So he goes up to the healing room, and I says to his wife, come with me. You might as well sit and watch. So I puts him on the bed, does the healing. And when I come off the bed, when I looked up, his wife's sitting with her arms out like this. And I says, are you all right, Barbara? And she says, Brian, you'll never believe it, but I thought you'd finished healing because somebody came and took my hands to comfort me. She says, and when I looked up, you were still healing on Derek. And I said, that's one of my guides, obviously, working with you. So we brought Derek round, and I got him off the bed, and he says, do you want to keep those sticks? I don't need them. And I went, no, please take your sticks. Don't cut them place up. So they came down, and they were getting ready to drive back to Gloucester. And I says, wait, have a coffee before you go. It's a long journey. So I'm making the coffee, and Barbara, his wife, says, Brian, look at Derek. And when I turned round, he was standing upright, looking in the crystal cabinets with no sticks, walking between the cabinets. And I went, wow. Now I thought a miracle's happened. Anyway, says goodbye to them, and he's adamant, I'm going to keep your sticks. I'm adamant he's not. So they went away, and the next morning she phoned me up and she goes, Brian, thank you for yesterday, but thank you's not enough. And I said, no, that is enough. No, it's lovely to be able to help him. She said, no, what you don't understand is at tea time last night, this growth in his chin went all scaly. She said, during the night it fell off.
Oh my God.
There was no trace of blood, scarring or anything. All it looks like is where he's didn't shave, there's a bald patch. That's all. No blemishes to his skin or anything. And I went, you're winding me up. And she went, no, seriously. She says, we're coming back Thursday again.
Yeah.
They came down the following Thursday, and I'm not joking, I just couldn't believe it. Plus, he had no pain from that morning when he woke up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And he still wasn't using his sticks that day. Well, they came back for the following week. They went home after another healing, and COVID shut us down properly. And about 6 months later, Barbara phoned me up and says, Brian, I'm sorry to tell you, Derek passed away yesterday. And I went, I'm sorry to hear that. She says, do you know, thank you, because it was the most peaceful passing I've ever seen. She says, he gave me a list of all his friends. He was taken to his bed a week before because he'd cancer through his body. She says, a list of all his friends, and they all came in one by one. And he had no voice. She says, but what he done was he took their hands one by one as they came in, gave them a smile, and it was his own unknowing message. She says, they all went out. And at 4:30 in the afternoon, the last one went. I went in to see him. She said, he took both my hands, gave me the most beautiful smile, closed his eyes, and never woke up.
Oh, that's I got tingles all through my body.
I shiver every time I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
See, to me, that there justifies everything. Just when things like that happen. And Spirit never ceased to amaze me how they do things. And we're all capable of doing it. If only we trust and believe. I've just been up to Scotland for a few days because 4 of my family are all suffering with cancer. And one of them, she's got kidney cancer in one of her kidneys, and it's gone into her bones. And I went up there and done a healing with her. And after the healing, she said, you know, the pain's all gone out of the bones. She says, but you've left an energy working on my tummy. And I said, well, that's all right. Spirit will work when they want. 2 days later, I went back out to see her, and I said, I'll give you another healing. She says, the pain's never come back on my bones, but that energy is still working 2 days. And I said, well, I'll add to it. I've been back 2.5 weeks. That energy is still working.
Really?
So I'm just waiting on the good news that...
Yeah, he's finished his job.
Yeah. You see, and this is it. How can we doubt what happens when you see things like this happening? And like when I started, I wanted to be a medium. I thought I'd be a medium. And I was getting on great with it. I was only a few weeks away from doing my first major platform. By the time I'd done 4 healings, I said I never wanted to do anything more. Take away the mediumship and concentrate on my healing. And then 2 years ago, they said to me, now start your mediumship again. It's a hard thing to do when you're healing because you're used to being in the background, not questioning them all the time. But they don't work with me on a one-to-one basis like that. They come through when I least expect it. And things happen that, you know, well, you're a medium, but you're also healing mainly at the same time. And it's just awe-inspiring to say the least.
Oh, no, that's wonderful what you're doing. And you know, like I said, I know a few people that do psychic surgery and trance healing and all that, and it's such a gift to be able to help others and be in service, and that's what we're all about now. You know, is being in service, especially in these troubled times that are going on. But so I know you mentioned Harry Edwards. And I thought, oh my God, I haven't heard that name, and that shows how young I am. And I can remember when he came to Bristol and he was down the Colston Hall, because I mean, he always wore his white coat, didn't he? And
that's right.
Yeah, and so I can, and that's going back, oh my God, a long time.
Can I give you a thing of that with Harry? I went on a retreat, be 4 years now. It's one I go to every year up in Scarborough. And I was sitting for physical and transfiguration.
Right.
There was only a small group of 8 of us. And on the first day, I'm sat there, and all of a sudden, this entity came through. And I couldn't see it because I transfigured, and it was Harry. Everyone there went, it's Harry Edwards. And he came through every day in the 5 days. And on the last day, he says to me, he started speaking to the crowd, and he says, to the group, he says, I'm going to give you a gift you can use, but you will never be able to teach it. And you will always know when I'm there because my posterior will be bigger than the chair. And sure as God, I had been using his gift. I realized what the gift was when he dinged it. I'd been doing it for about 6 months. And the guy who was using my hands to do it hadn't made himself clear. I just felt the energy. And I kept saying to him, who are you? And I never got an answer. So I said, well, what I will do is I will call you Sam. So every time I felt this energy come through, welcome, Sam. And he says to me, and by the way, my name's not Sam.
I love it.
And he gave me the gift of laser surgery through my hands.
Wow.
And it helps people with eyes, neck problems, spinal problems. You can go in between the joints and things. And it's just so inspiring. But I'd read of Harry Edwards, believe it or not, when I was 15. It was a book I found and read it. I didn't realize how close it would be in my life later.
Yeah, amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've been to his centre as well. I used to deliver to his centre for 2 years. I used to do deliveries. I didn't know the Harry Edwards Centre was what was it? No, Burroughs Lee, as it's called.
I went there. Oh gosh, about 5 past lives ago now. So way back. But that was a very special place. But yeah, that's amazing that you were already drawn there, delivering, and then not knowing. It's bizarre, the stepping stones of different things. And when you look back, you think, oh God, yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I was 29 when I got remarried the second time. I married this girl with 4 kids, but she didn't know her mother. Her mother had left when she was a teenager. And on her wedding day, she says to me, I wish my mother had been here to see this. And I knew what that felt like, because I'd never seen my mother. She left when I was 10 months old.
Yeah.
So I'd done a bit of research, and I found this address for her mother. It was 12 years old. And it was about 6 weeks after we married. I says to her, come on, in the car. We're going for a run. And I knew to go through the Dartford Tunnel, turn right, and it was 2 inches further along on the map. And we gets on, and she's going, where are we going? I said, it'll be a surprise. So we drives all the way, and I get through the tunnel, and I thought, I've got lost. I've gone too far. So I says, next turn on the left, we come here, I'm going to spin round and go back to that garage because I think I've come too far for what I'm looking for. So it goes up the road about another quarter of a mile. I sees a turning to the left, I swings round, and as I'm getting in, the street name hits me, and it's Verbena Close. The address I was looking for was 5 Verbena Close, South Ockenden, Romford, and Essex. And there's this Verbena Close, and every hair on the back of my neck stood up. As I swung the car round in the car park to reverse round, I'm right opposite number 5. And by this time, I think my body was all on edge. And I says, I think you can come out now. I says, I might have a surprise for you. And I'm thinking it could be a big shock as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Gosh.
So I went and I rang the doorbell. And after about 30 seconds, this old lady opened it. And she went, what kept you? I've been waiting.
Really?
And she went, Mum, And I went, hang on, how do you know I was coming? I haven't told MD. She says, my friends told me. And I went, your friends? I haven't told MD. So we get in, we're chatting away, there's all the hellos, goodbyes and everything. And she said, she was starting to talk to my wife about it. She'd done lunch, and I said, I'll wash up, give you a bit of private time. I'm doing the washing up, and suddenly she appears in the kitchen and starts telling me about my life before I met my wife. And she's telling me things I hadn't even told my wife. And I'm going, how do you know that? And she goes, I'm a medium. And I went, give over. I said, you've got to be an outsize, if nothing else. And she went, I'm a spiritual medium. And I went, I don't know what you call it, but it's definitely not medium. And then she started to tell me about her life with spirit. And I'm thinking, you're on day release from somewhere. You've got to be. You depend on all these dead people's spirits to look after you and do these things. And she was an amazing medium. But at the end of the day, she says to me, you're going to do what I do. She was a medium healer. And I says, what do you mean? She says, you're going to do mediumship and healing the way I do. And I went, no way. I was still in the Navy. I said, no way.
I bet.
And I'm thinking, no, this is a mental derangement. But anyway, she says, you're going to do it. I says, when will this happen? She says, when you get rid of her. I said, well, I've only just married your daughter and you tell me to ditch her. And she says, no, you have a life. You have got some work to do with her. But there'll come a time when it will be your time, and that's when all this will cut in. 29 years later.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No time in spirit, eh?
No. But the thing was, I didn't know. But over the 10 years that I got to know that lady, she became my mother. And I had so much respect for her. Not that I ever wanted to do it. But I didn't realize she was actually teaching me how to be spiritual. She used to go to Arthur Findlay College, the Hilton, she called it. And she'd buy these latest books that came unpublished from Spirit. Now, she couldn't read and write properly. So she'd come home with these couple of books and she'd go, I've been to the Hilton. Would you take these books and read them and then explain them to me? Now, I don't know if you've ever tried reading a book. It's way above your level, but it's like reading treacle. And I'd take maybe 2 nights to read one paragraph or one good page. And then at the end of the couple of weeks, I'd have to go back and visit her with these 2 books. And she'd say, right, you're staying over the weekend. What's this book called? And I go, don't know, let me see it. And I'd read the title. I wouldn't be able to tell you one thing about it. And then all of a sudden, I'd be sitting there and I'd be spilling it to her.
Really?
I'd be answering questions on it. And I'd be thinking, where did that come from? And this went on for like 10 years. And she took me to her healing church to see what healing was like, to see how it was all done and everything. And when I look back, I think, you conniving old woman. Well, when I started the healing, she'd died by then. And it was an open day at this place, and I was at it, and I decided to get a reading. And this lady says to me, this medium says to me, I've got a Veronica here. Would you know a Veronica? And I went, my mother-in-law, yes. She says, she's telling me she works with you. And I went, well, that makes sense because I've started healing. So I says, I feel blessed that she's there. And she used to come through quite regular to reinforce that she was watching me and working with me.
Oh, yeah.
Then when I started I hadn't heard of her for about 3 years, and I was doing the trance healing then. And she
probably lined up your second wife, mate.
Yeah. My third one.
In the Navy, I could say that. You got to
Yeah.
in every court. Yeah, okay, well, yeah.
And here she came through when I started trance healing, and I says to the medium, "Is she still working with me?" And she went, "Oh no," she says, "I'm just watching you now." But she still pops in once in a blue moon. And to me, that's the greatest thing ever. No.
Mm.
And my father, he didn't believe in any of this till his last year. And
right.
he was ill and I nursed him, and we talked about it into such a depth that he actually believed in it.
Really?
He was so spiritual himself, he just didn't recognize it, the life he led. And when he passed, I made a pact with him before he passed. I says, "If there is a life after, will you come back and prove it to me?" He said, "If there's a life after, I'll come back and I will scare the living daylights out of it." And he was a man of word.
All right, go on.
The 3 days after it happened, after his death, my sisters actually got him in her house. He's moving her papers, he's switching the telly off, he's shutting doors, and she's chatting away to him. But he never came near me. And I had to wait 12 years
12.
Really?
before he came here. And this is where you start questioning, did he really love me? Did he really care? Is it really mental ability? No, is it my sister just visualizing it and imagining it? Anyway, I goes to this, my first ever proper transfiguration evening with this medium in the dark. And all I wanted to see was ectoplasm. It was my interest to see what ectoplasm was like. And as it started, the ectoplasm's coming out the woodwork, out the furniture, and it's all forming around the medium. I was blown away. And then this man started changing. He became a beautiful young lady with long hair. He didn't have his hair in his head, but his shoulder length hair. Then he became a negroid with a spread nose and everything. And then he became Chinese. And as I'm watching, I went, "That's my dad."
Wow.
So the medium, Fran, I'll always remember her, Fran, she says, "What was your dad's name?" And I went, "George." So she went, "Is that you, George?" And this smile came out. And this particular medium, they hadn't used his voice, they weren't using his voice box. So he communicated by smiles or scowls. So she's come down, and I was 4 foot away from him. I could see the broken blood vessels in his cheek. I could see the chip in his tooth.
Really? Wow.
It was the most amazing sensation. Now, I didn't know what transfiguration, how long they stayed for or anything. I thought it was, you've got maybe a minute if you're lucky. So I'm trying to give them the family history in 30 seconds. And of course, you run out of words. And I'm stood there just looking at him. And he started to fade. And the medium says to me, "You need your voice to hold him here." And I went, "Dad, you told me if there was a life after, you come back and prove it to me. You've took your bloody time."
Yeah.
Well, I'm not joking. His face nearly exploded with a smile. And the hall went into an uproar of laughter. But he suddenly sent this unconditional love through to me. And I honestly felt my breastbone was splitting to take it all in. It was actually painful. There was so much in there. And then he faded away. And I was flying high for about 4 or 5 days. I couldn't wait to tell my sisters. And the following day, one of the mediums from the church says to me, "My God, that's going to take some message to beat that, innit?" And I said, "I don't want a message. I don't need a message now." I says, "That was the best proof I could ever have seen there's a life after." I says, "It was just, I'm still feeling the love." And to this day, I've only ever paid for 4 readings because I think, and he does it, but if I want to speak to him, I wait till I see a church or a mediumship demonstration, and I'll sit down and I'll say to my dad and mine, I'll say, "Right, I'm going to this tonight. I'd be grateful if you'd come and talk to me." And I go there and I'm always the second message. Comes through. Now, my fiance, she couldn't believe this. And I says, "Right, this Sunday we're going to church and I'll get a message from Dad." She said, "You can't say that." And I goes, "I can." So half hour before we went, I sat down. I said, Dad, I'm going to such and such a church tonight. It'll be 6:30. I'll be in the second row. Just come in and let me know you're all right. Give me a little upliftment. So we get there, and sure as God, the medium's on the platform, and it starts off, and she comes to this lady at the back. She says, can I come to you? And then she looks at me, can I come to you for the second message? And I went, thank you. And it's your father. So she says, that was lucky. I says, no, it's not. Spirit will do as you ask. So the following week, we went to church again. I'd done the same thing. There's your father. So it was a couple of weeks later. I said, we're going to church tonight. She goes, what, you're going to get a message? I goes, you never know. And I sat. I asked for her mother to come through. And we're sitting there in the church, and sure as God, the first message went, and the second message, the second person, she's looking down at the two of us. And she went, can I come to you, madam? She said, I've got a mother figure here. And she got a beautiful message from her mother. And when we finished in the church, she came out and she went, well, that piddled on your bonfire, isn't it? She says, you never get your message. I said, I didn't ask for one for me. I asked for one for you. So you see,
Yeah.
it's amazing. And this is what I try to say to people. Don't go there just hoping that somebody will come through. Set your intention. Your intention is everything. It's if you want to heal somebody, you don't have to be a trained healer. Set the intention you want some healing for that person. Give it unconditionally, and it will happen. And it's the same when you want a message. When you're feeling a bit down or something, send it up there. Please get a message to me. It will come one way or t'other. I went over to Norway. It was 6 years ago now. I was on a visit over to Norway, and the lady who was sponsoring me, her aunt, I was going over in July, but in February, her aunt, her son had come back from the wars with PTSD. And they discharged him like they normally do, a box of pills. And he used to go around here every day complaining of these pains in his head. He could hear all the noises and he kept seeing the visions. And all she says is, well, there's nothing I can do. You just need to take your pills and just sleep. And he came round this Friday really upset. And she says, go home, just take your pills and go to bed. And she hadn't seen him again. And the Monday morning, she was a bit worried because that was a Saturday and Sunday. She hadn't seen him. So she went round, opened his door, and there he is, lying on the mat in the living room. He'd blown his brains out, our only son. So it really shattered her. I goes out to Norway, and Teresa says to me, if Auntie Anna comes, will you have a word with her? I says, yeah, okay. She explained the situation. Sure as God, we has dinner. I goes out in the patio, and out comes this lady, and she goes, I'm Auntie Anna. I'm Teresa's Auntie Anna. I said, yeah, I knew. I said, come and sit beside me. And she starts to tell me about losing her son. And all of a sudden, this energy is on my left-hand side. And I thought, don't tell me. This is her son here. Now, this is life-changing for her. And I thought, I can't afford to muck it up. And I went, Spirit, please inspire me so that the best comes out of this. And the next minute I turned around and I says, may I do an experiment with you? And I'm thinking, what? She says, what's an experiment? I said, I'm going to do something, but I don't know what the end result's going to be. And she went, yes. I said, well, give me your hand. And as I took her hand, this energy just went straight through my body into her. And I could feel it pulsing through. And all of a sudden, I seen a tear come out from under her glasses. And I just sat there, and we must have been sat for about 7 minutes, and I could feel this energy moving. And then I felt the energy cutting off, so I let her hand go. And she took her glasses off, broke her heart, turned around, gave me a hug, and she went, you've just given me my son back. And I says, what do you mean? She says, he stood in front of me and he went, Mama, look, my head is clear. She said, then he ran up the hill there. She said, it was my son, and he's all right now. It was a totally different woman that went out. See, and all I'd done was set an intention to Spirit, please help me to do the best I can because I don't trust myself to sit and do a one-to-one with you, especially with things that deep. And things like that have happened 2 or 3 times.
Mm.
And I was in a pub one night, Christmas Eve, 2 years ago in Scotland. What a place to be. And I picked the only pub with 4 people in it, outside Glasgow. And I'm sitting drinking, and this lady came up and she says, I feel I've got to speak to you. And I says, yeah, it's all right. She says, what do you do? I said, well, I drink beer happily. And she went, no, what do you do for work? And I said, well, I'm into holistics. And she said, well, will you answer a question truthfully for me? And I says, yeah, I'll do it to the best of my ability. So I want to ask you about suicide. And I says, okay. She says, I know someone that's committed suicide, and I've been told they're in purgatory. And I went, right, stop there. I says, this is a religious thing. You're a devout Catholic, and you've lost someone close to you. And she went, yes. She said, we're a devout Catholic family, and my brother committed suicide 3 months ago. She said, but he was one of the nicest people you could ever meet. But because he's committed suicide, we've been told we have to destroy all his photographs, never to mention him again, because he's a sinner. And I went, that is religion. That is not true spiritual.
Mm.
I says, now, why is he a sinner? I said, because God gave you the life. He gave you this life. And he didn't say you to live 70 years and 10. You have this life to lead it, to experience, to grow, to learn things. I said, then when you've had enough, you go back. Or when you've learned, you go back. But like going to Sainsbury's to work, when you go into a supermarket to work as a shelf filler, and they suddenly say, I want you to do double shifts. And you go, I can't, it's too much. You resign from the job. You go back and you go and look for another job. That is life. So what he did was said, I've had enough of this life. I'm going back and I'll start again.
Mm.
I says, he's not a sinner. I says, anything but. I says, I hope you don't discard him out of your life. And as I said that, this energy came in. And I says to her, what are you feeling at the moment? She says, what do you mean? I says, how are you feeling? She says, well, I don't like talking about it. She said, but I feel as though I've just come onto the menopause. She says, I've suddenly become very hot. And I says, well, in that case, just in your head, say, if you're my brother, step back. She says, are you serious? I says, please do it. Humour me. So she did it. And I went, now, how are you feeling? She went, I've gone all cold again. I said, now, just say, if you're my brother, come close again. And she went, oh, this is weird. I'm getting hot again. I said, doesn't it tell you something? Your brother's around you. And she says, what can I do? I says, talk to him. I says, talk to him in your head. I says, but listen to what's coming through your mind. Just be aware of the thoughts. And there was tears and everything else. And I said, now when you go home tonight, I want you to sit, remember him, talk to him, call him close and ask him to give you a calling card. I says, get him to prove it a couple of times and then just sit and talk as though he's in a chair opposite you, but listen to what's coming back, the thoughts in your head. And my God, I got some beautiful calls back from her a couple of weeks later. She now sits and regularly talks to him and she gets the feedback. She knows he's happy. That was the other thing when we were doing that, standing, and I'd got her to, yeah, it's your brother. She said, I just want you to know that he's happy. I says, right, ask him. So she's there, and I said, how are you feeling? She says, I feel stupid. I want to laugh. And I says, there's your answer. You see, and although I class myself as a healer, trans healer, trans surgeon, mediumship gets involved as well. And I do just as much healing when the mediumship cuts in as well.
Mm.
I was at a thing a couple of months ago, and They booked all these healings in for me, like a clinic. And this lady suddenly appeared in the room. And I'd met her 4 years before at one of my retreats. And she was disabled with her knee and a few other bits and pieces. And she comes in and I says, right, up in the bed. And she's going, God, can you remember that retreat we'd done? It was on trance. And I says, yeah. And she starts talking about it. And I said, look, we've only got 20 minutes. We're going to run out of healing time. She goes, it's all right. She says, just keep talking to me. She says, because somebody's already working on my knee and I've got a cold compress on my tummy. I said, well, if they don't need me, I'll stay talking to you. So we had for 15 odd minutes talking, and I says, right, come on, you need to come off the bed now. Somebody else will be in a minute. She sat down, lifted her leg and put her shoe on. She went, do you know, I haven't done that for 6 years, lifted my leg and put a shoe on. I met her again a month ago. She's got no problems with the knee now. She doesn't need a walking stick or anything.
Mm.
And I thought, isn't that amazing how I'm just in the room and the spirit is working?
Fantastic.
And this is it. It's just that you can take that energy with you and be that channel without even being consciously aware of it. And it is wonderful. And honestly, an amazing experience.
Honestly, I take my hat off to you, Brian, because you know, with all the work that you're doing and the people you see in, and you're doing a wonderful job, absolutely wonderful job. And, you know, you're heart-based, you know, you can feel it, you know, talking to you. Yeah, it's just amazing. So one other thing, I saw you, you doing some healing on a horse. Are you working with many animals?
Right. Many years ago, when I first started this, I was working with animals every week. And it was just intuitive. Then I went, here's magic, that one. I went to do an animal communication course, healing and communication course. And it was for a certificated course. And it wasn't about the certificate. I just wanted to do it and learn how to do it properly. And I went with this amazing lady who's world famous animal healer, communicator. And at the end of it, she says to me, you've got to come on my diploma course. You've done so well with that. And I went, don't be silly. She says, yeah, it's veterinary recognized and everything. So I done it. I went on the course, blew it away. Do you know it's got to be 5 years from that day to I touched an animal again?
Really?
They suddenly stopped coming. It was as though you've got a bit of paper, I'm not coming near you. Then, 3 years ago, I was drawn to a little Yorkshire Terrier. And he was due to be put down that weekend. And I said, let me have a look at him. And I went to see him, and she said, be wary, he doesn't like men, he doesn't like touching. And within 5 minutes, he's on my lap, he's cuddled under.
Oh.
And as I'm stroking him, I'm putting healing through to him. 6 months later, after there he is. 6 months later, she took him to the vet for a checkup because he had every chronology going, or he did have. And the vet was actually arguing, you've brought the wrong dog. He was 12 years old there. 6 months later, he was like a puppy again. He only died a few months ago against everybody's thing.
Yeah.
And then there's a picture of me with a horse here. That is a horse. That's a friend's horse who is does this dressage. He's a champion dressage horse. He's won 50 odd contests this year alone. And he had to have an operation on both back ankles. And she said, would you have a word with him? Would you come and see what you can do? And as soon as I got to the stable, it was like the horse knew me. He'd only had the operation 4 days before. And he knew me. And I went in, and that's me at the back of him, just stroking. and you'll see the other photos, his head's on the ground. But as I connected, suddenly the head went down, the lip dropped, and there he is. His face is actually on the floor. And I went back round the back, and I'm actually holding the wounds of the operation, putting it in. Now, his owner is an animal communicator, and the horse is saying to him, "This is wonderful, it's beautiful, I could do this all the time." And I'd done the healing on both back elbows, and he's not allowed to run about or anything for a matter of weeks. So she takes him out in this little paddock in the morning, and I've got the photo somewhere. He's actually standing up on his back legs. He's rearing up. He's like a bronco. And not one little bit of inflammation or anything, no pain or anything. And he's back now. She's now got to the stage where she can actually give him a good run. But that was the most amazing. And then I came back to see him a couple of weeks later. And as soon as I get in the yard, he's there acknowledging me, wanting over. And every animal I come near, I've got to do something with it. No. My daughter hates me with her dog. She's got a little terrier, but she's 12 years old. And you'd honestly think I was kicking its brains in when I get there, the way it squeals with excitement and runs mad.
I love it.
And she says, "You're going to give it a heart attack." And when she comes up to my house, she only needs to pull up in the car park. The dog's racing to come up the doors and upstairs. And he stays with me. That one there is a little Chihuahua. That's another friend's I adopt. Because of my lifestyle, I love animals, but I can't have a dog. So I adopt everyone else's. There's a Chihuahua, there's my daughter's. There's also another friend who's got a golden retriever. There's one of my granddaughters got a French bulldog. So I've always got a choice. And my girlfriend's got an Alsatian. My fiance had a massive big Alsatian. So I've always got animals around.
Yeah.
And any animal I will heal without any trouble.
Mm.
I love being around. When I was younger, I was in a bad place. And I'm talking about childhood. And I was 8 years old when I got my first dog. And I got a rabbit, salvaged a rabbit and a dog in the same day. Stopped the dog from being put down and saved the baby rabbit from being put down. And I reared them. And me and the dog had an amazing relationship, even a rabbit. And at that time, I learned animals give you that unconditional love. No matter what you do, they will love you. And that's where I formed my affection with animals. I used to pick up wild animals and bring them home and everything because I was so attached to them, because I trusted them more than I trusted any human. And even now, I still trust animals more than humans. And I'm sorry to say it, but I know there is good humans out there, but there's also every animal's a good animal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love doing animal not communication. I don't communicate so much because I'd stop using it. But I still love the animal healing, and you can feel it. And when you go to the horses, you can feel them giving it back to you.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Oh well, I've so enjoyed you sharing, because obviously I've come from a spiritual background. My mum was a medium and a healer, so we were doing this on the dogs and from little. So like you, I'm on a farm at the minute, so I got all farm animals which is around me, but I love dogs as well, and all my family have got dogs, and there's been a few that have passed within the last year, which is heartbreaking, because it's like you lose for me, some of the dogs are got more love than half the humans, but it just depends where you're at. But so have you got any workshops? I know I'm going to be seeing you on Sunday, so that's a bonus. See you at the concert.
I'm going away this afternoon to Wales.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I'm meeting up with another trans-surgeon homeopathic friend. And the reason we're going is we've set up 3 days of healing. and this is with serious illness. And what we're going to do is combined healings, 2 of us working, 2 on each body at the same time, and just see how we can enhance each other, enhance the healing. We had this experience a few weeks ago. A friend of mine, she was just diagnosed with cancer, a bit serious, and she was heartbroken. I phoned up my friend. I says, let's do this together. Would you come and try it? So we put her on the bed, and underneath the bed, we put 2 blocks of shungite, the size of bricks.
Really? Wow.
This is my friend's thing. And he says that will do for the grounding.
Yeah.
We done the healing, the energy went through the ceiling. None of the viewers can remember the actual healing as such. It was so high. But when we finished, we went for lunch, and I drove her back to Portsmouth. The next morning, he phoned me up and says, Brian, what happened during that healing? I said, well, the energy just went through the ceiling. He says, it's not that. I was clearing the room this morning, and I've took the shungite blocks out from under the bed, and they've got veins through them.
Wow.
He says, there's veins all the way through them. He says, and they were definitely pure black, smooth when I got them. I said, well, check it. If the veins are yellow, check if it's gold. If it is, we've become alchemists instead of healers. We're rich.
Yeah.
But if we manage to get the energy enough to change a crystal,
wow.
Because my main ambition, Isa Northgate, I don't know if you've heard of her. She was a trance healer many years ago in this century, and she used to work from a little lodge, and she put the healing bed in the middle, and a seance group would sit round, and they would all connect. A trance group would sit round, connect, and the guide would materialize and go and do the healing. And it was miracles happen when that happens, and that is my ambition. Now, 7 years ago, I came in one day, and the book is in the middle of my living room floor.
Yeah.
A Path Prepared, it's called. I read it. I was so fascinated. I've read it about 3 times. And I've been aiming all these years to set it up. And I get so far, and then the group breaks up, because you need a really good, strong group to keep it there. I went to Norway. I was there for 3 weeks. And on the second week, I was woken up 1:30 in the morning and made to write out how to prepare the room and then how to go through with it. And I thought, yeah, all right, I'll read the book when I go home. I came home, I couldn't find the book. Then about a year ago, I came home, what's lying on my coffee table? I only live here on my own. The book. So I've now met someone else in a very spiritual position, and I've been gifted. I say gifted. I was taken to somewhere that has been very sacred. And she says to me, you're going to do some amazing healing stuff here. And I recognized what it was. And I've tried it 3 times in the past, and we've had amazing success with it, but I've never yet had the guides come out and do it visibly.
Yeah.
And this is it, because I just want spirit to be able to come through and do the best you can. No, they do work hard, but to be able to take it to the highest level. And with what's happening at the moment, both for me and the world, is amazing. The people I'm getting through to come and visit me, and things I'm getting taken into and meeting, and like yourself, that wasn't coincidence. That was it.
That's always my intention, like each day, how can I be the best? How can I serve, and how can I help myself? Yeah. And, what do I need to do today? And,
Yeah.
I say whatever, I always have an intention every morning, and I just allow, whatever happens. And like you say, it's just amazing how spirit puts the stepping stones for you to follow. So it's fabulous. So
Well, you're saying that, my thing in the morning when I wake up is I thank spirit for looking after me, because I'm in my geriatric years now. And I thank you for letting me come another day. But how are you going to make today better than yesterday?
Yesterday, exactly, yeah.
And every day I get a little surprise, a major wow. And this is it. And I know now, no, if I go tomorrow, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I'd be happy because I know I've done the best I can. I've helped as many as I can.
Yeah.
And I read many years ago in the who do you call them, Silver Birch.
Oh yeah.
If you can take one soul to the light, you've justified your existence on this earth. My sister says to me a couple of years back, "Why are you still working at it? You've surely done that." And I goes, "But I had a bit of a rough teenage year. I want to make sure I'm in bonus before I want to make sure I'm in credit." Yeah.
Yeah. You got some bonus points.
Yeah, definitely brownie points.
Yeah. So have you got any workshops that you're doing, teaching or anything coming up?
I'm hoping to do another one in the next 6 weeks, and that'll be energy healing. There's 8 different workshops I'm doing. Spirit keeps saying to me, "You've got to get out there and teach."
Yeah.
But at the moment, I've just done 2 healing ones. They were oversubscribed, but they've said, "We're so short of healers. You've got to get out there and teach it." And I run 2 coffee mornings a week.
I saw that, but I thought you were. I thought it was Wareham, Dorset, not Hampshire.
No.
Yeah, well, I didn't realise that because I'm a newbie down this way.
I was down your part of the world yesterday.
Oh, were you? Well, let me know next time you're down and we'll catch up.
Yeah, definitely. But I do coffee morning.
Were you at Paul's Spiritist Church?
No, that's in the 11th. I'm there. Right. I was at Dorchester, not Dorchester, Bournemouth, and then I went to somewhere else out that way as well, out by Christchurch,
right,
to do some stuff.
Yeah.
But I've got to ask one question. I mean, winding up. At the beginning, there you said you were working at this temple. Yeah. That might ever call you in and say, "Hey, sorry, we apologise. Mate, you're the man, you're the legend. Can you come back?" Well, they too start up themselves.
Oh yeah, the temple. Don't get me wrong, is an amazing building, and it's got some amazing.
People, yeah. Just the people, yeah.
And the trouble is, people don't like change.
No.
And this is where, God forbid, the temple does a lot of good for a lot of people. All the SNU churches do. But the trouble is, the committee of the SNU changes every so many times, and everybody's trying to put their ego on. And it ruins it. Now, there's some amazing people go there and find solace, they find comfort. But if you start the healing, they're not allowing it to be done in Spirit's way. Now, last year they changed the rules of healing. You're not allowed to touch the body.
Yeah.
A few years back, it was you're not allowed to do a pregnant woman without a midwife's consent.
Oh, for flip's sake.
Now, on that, there was a young girl we met. She'd been on the streets for about 2 years. And she came in one day and I was doing a bit of healing and a bit of counselling with her. And she started coming every week. And then she got into a relationship and life totally changed. But it was like I was her surrogate granddad. And she used to come in every week and she'd tell me what she'd achieved that week and everything. It's so proud. And she came running in this Tuesday afternoon and she went, "Brian, you'll never believe it. I'm pregnant." And I went, I'm so pleased for you, because she'd got the fella that really cared for her. She'd got herself into a flat and everything. And this was the nucleus of her family. And you could see she'd got a purpose to live. And the healer needed to come up and says, you can't have healing today. And she went, why not? Brian heals me every week. And she went, no, we need a letter from your midwife.
Yeah.
And she went, but I haven't got a midwife yet. And she says, well, we can't heal you until we have a letter. And I said, I'm sorry, I know this girl's history. I will give her the healing. And they says, you can be prosecuted. I said, well, prosecute me, but I'm giving her the healing. I says, this girl's built a life up. You're just going to shatter it. And she's going to wonder what's happened. So I says, I'm sorry. I know it's against the temple's policy, but I'm going to do it. So I took her in the healing room and I gave her the healing. And when I came out, there was a bit of a delegation waiting for me.
Oh, I bet.
And 4 of the other healers said, we will stand behind you on this, because we would have done the healing as well. We don't agree with this rule.
Brilliant.
And it didn't go anywhere else, because there was people prepared to stand with me. But what would it have done to that girl?
Yeah.
So what we done from that week on, I seen her privately in her own flat.
Yeah.
And see, it's just the ego of these stupid rules. Instead of letting spirit direct it. And this is it. Another church I know, a very good spiritual church, but the committee is dying. It's dying. And they finally got 2 young members. When I say members, 40-year-olds that came into, prepared to take on committee and change it. And when they decided, well, we don't want those kind of changes. We don't want the music to change. We don't want this to change. But when you're doing what you've always done, you get what you've always got.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to change it. So it ended up the 2 youngsters had to step back. And I'm watching it weekly going downhill.
Yeah.
And no, even the temple now, the oldest church in Britain, is struggling. It's on its knees. And yet it's such a beautiful place. And it's in a major city. No, it's in a major town, Portsmouth. It's the middle of Portsmouth.
I'll tell you what, when they kick the bucket and they get on the other side, oh my God, look what we've done.
Oh, this is it.
No,
You've got to face those guys one day, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's the same as when you give the false readings and the imitation healings and that. You've got to stand in front of that guide one day, and when he says, why did you say it in my name, or why did you do it? Well, all I'd say is put a good book down the back of your pants.
Yeah.
The kicking's going to be severe.
Oh, right. Well, I have to say, it's been an absolute delight listening to you and you sharing your knowledge and your stories and what you're doing. You're doing wonderful work. Thank you from us all. And I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Bless you. Now, I'll bring you something Sunday. I've got a surprise for you Sunday.
Oh, I like surprises.
Yeah. It's only a few words. It's the words that are right.
All right. Okay. Lovely. I'll look forward to that. Thank you. I thank everybody for listening today and tuning in.
Thank you, Jeff, for hosting this. Thank you.
You're welcome, mate. Just stay online there, brother. And then we'll have a chat